So thank you very much for coming. It's always just a delight to be able to talk with people about Dharma practice, about meditation. And today and tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about self-compassion, and it's sorry for the shameless self-promotion, but it's based on a book I wrote called "This Difficult Thing of Being Human." And we'll be doing quite a few things over the course of these 2 days. Today, the main thing is that I'll be introducing a 4-step practice for cultivating self-compassion. I mean, that really is the core of the book, and I wanted to give that to you as soon as possible. Not build up to it over the course of 2 days. So what we'll be doing is not quite plunging in, but today we'll certainly be exploring that 4-stage practice, and tomorrow we'll be going into that a bit deeper and looking at some of the implications of it. So let's first of all we'll just arrive. Let's arrive. Let's meditate together. I'm going to do a guided meditation. It's going to be a mindfulness practice. So this will help us to arrive, but also mindfulness is an essential component of self-compassion. We have to be aware, for example, of when we're suffering, which sometimes we actually fail to notice that we're suffering. We have to be aware that we have a choice about how we respond to that suffering. So all of that is to do with mindfulness. So if you can just ease your way in to your meditation posture, sitting in a way that's relatively comfortable. I'm going to be putting a lot of emphasis on the eyes throughout today. And I just invite you to allow your eyes to be soft and relaxed. So even with your eyes closed, which is what I'd suggest, you can allow the muscles around the eyes to be relaxed. So that the eyes are at ease. And within the eyes, I invite you to allow the focus to be soft. So I know you have the eyes closed, but you can have a sense of the focus within your eyes being soft. So this is the feeling that we have within the eyes when we're staring into space. And you can actually, even with the eyes closed, to be aware of your visual field. Maybe there's light filtering through your closed eyelids. But there can also be a sense of light arising just from random activity within your retinas. And with the focus in your eyes soft, just notice how you can be aware of all of that at the same time, your whole visual field. Not with a narrow focus, moving around, trying to gather it all up into a whole, but just recognizing that it's already there. And a really interesting thing is that when you allow the eyes to be relaxed, when you allow yourself to be open to your visual experience like this, it triggers a kind of relaxation response so that the body is beginning to soften already. You might notice that your breathing is already deepening and slowing, moving down into the belly. And also, when you allow the eyes to be soft in this way, when you allow yourself to be open to your whole visual field in this way, it becomes possible to do the same thing internally. So, as you're becoming more aware of the body, you might notice that it's just all there. You can be aware of the whole body at the same time. And you don't need to try to make that happen. In fact, the more you try, the harder it is. So we're just letting our inner field of attention be relaxed and open. And you find that you can be aware of the whole body and of the whole body breathing. Movements and sensations from the breathing process rippling through the entire body. So as you're breathing out, There's a soft wave of letting go, of relaxation, of softening that sweeps through the entire body, sweeping downward. Bringing a sense of calmness to the mind, soothing the mind. Perhaps even gladdening the mind. And this wave of letting go also bringing a sense of ease and relaxation to muscles everywhere in the body. And sometimes we'll experience that sense of relaxation in the muscles in the form of tingling or aliveness, kind of quiet energy. Just checking in with the eyes from time to time and making sure that they're still soft. The muscles around the eyes relaxed. The focus within the eyes soft. And I've mentioned this soft wave of letting go that accompanies the out breathing. But there's also a soft wave of movement and sensation accompanying the in breathing. And that's connected with expansion, upward movement, the vivid coolness of the breath being brought into the body. And perhaps a sense of our being filled with energy, with aliveness as we breathe in. So we can observe these two alternating waves, soft waves, that literally involve the whole body. So breathing out, mindful of the soft wave sweeping through the whole body. Breathing in, mindful of that soft wave sweeping through the whole body. And you can be aware as you're doing this, as you're observing in this way, whatever feelings may be arising. Sometimes there's a sense of aspects of our experience being unpleasant, maybe where there's tension. Sometimes we can have brought a particular feeling into the meditation practice with us, or it's arisen. Feelings around the belly, the heart, those can be pleasant or unpleasant. Sometimes we're not feeling anything. We call that a neutral feeling. And whether feelings are pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, we treat them all the same. We just allow them to be as best we can. Not trying to get rid of or push away or fight with unpleasant feelings. And just letting go of any intoxication with pleasant feelings or any attempt to try to intensify them. And if you're feeling neutral, you can just ask yourself, how do I feel about feeling neutral? Am I comfortable with that? In which case, there's probably a pleasant feeling there. Am I uncomfortable with feeling neutral? In which case, there's an unpleasant feeling, and just allowing those to be there as well. So we're sitting here, aware of the whole body, aware of waves of sensation and movement sweeping through the body, aware of whatever feelings might be arising as we're doing this. And aware of any thoughts that might be arising. Not fighting with those either. Thoughts are just sensations like any other sensation. We can just allow them to arise and pass away. So sitting with this relaxed, open field of attention, aware of whatever's arising as we're breathing in and out, aware of feelings, aware of any thoughts. Perhaps even aware of sensations arising from the world around us. Temperature, the contact the body is making with our seat, with the floor, with the air surrounding us. Aware of light, sound, space all around us. And I'm going to ring a bell in just a minute. And sometimes people think about that as the meditation practice coming to an end. But let's think of it in a different way. That what we're doing after we hear the bell is bringing whatever quality of attention that's come into being during the practice out into the world, bringing our practice into the world. So I'd like to say just a few words. It's dangerous to say I'm going to say a few words. I get carried away. I'm going to try to say just a few words about that practice and about the significance of it, and the importance of the eyes as well. So we don't normally go around with the eyes soft and open. Uh, and just allow your eyes to be soft right now. Just allow yourself to be aware of the whole of your visual field, because we have this strong tendency to narrow down. So right now you've got a computer screen in front of you, and you've got me talking, and you might well just be, focusing on me and narrowing down to just that. Just try letting your eyes be soft so you're aware of everything, and just notice how that changes your experience. So we tend to go around with a very narrow focus, a tight focus, with the eyes tight. And it's almost as if our attention is like a kind of flashlight beam. And what tends to happen is that when we sit down to meditate, we take that narrow focus of attention into our meditation practice. So we're asked to be mindful of the breathing, for example, and it is called the mindfulness of breathing. But very often what people do is they become aware of the breath. So the breathing is everything that's going on in the body, all of these sensations and movements connected with the flow of air in and out of the body. And the breath is just the contact that your body is making with air as it flows in and out of the body. So often people are just focusing on the breath, or they're just focusing on one small aspect of the breathing. And I've sometimes asked people as an experiment just to settle into doing mindfulness of breathing, being mindful of the breathing the way they normally do it. And then after about 5 minutes or so, I ask them to just take a hand and to draw over the surface of the body what it is they're paying attention to. And sometimes people are doing this, and sometimes people are doing this, and sometimes people are doing this or this. And it's usually a very, very small part of their experience. And the trouble is that when you when you shine the flashlight beam of your awareness onto just one very small part of your experience, it's not very rich. There's not a lot of sensation there. And there's just usually not enough to keep your mind fascinated. And in order to really become immersed in meditation, there has to be a sense of fascination, that your mind is completely full of sensation, that you're happy being aware of just that sensation. So you take I'm going to pretend this is a flashlight or torch, as we would call it in Britain, and you're maybe shining it on some little bit of you. And then what happens is a thought comes along. Usually that thought has some kind of emotional quality to it, maybe some conflict that you've had or something you're anxious about. And that thought kind of bubbles up. And because it's got this emotional pull, it attracts your attention. And so your flashlight beam kind of shines over, into that thought. And that thought being to do with something that concerns you emotionally is usually very rich. There's a story inside that thought. So now, the flashlight beam of your attention is inside not just a thought, but it's inside a story. Your attention is completely taken up by the story. The argument that you had that isn't resolved, or the thing that you're going to be doing that you're anxious about, you're suddenly there. There's this surround sound, wraparound, three-dimensional reality, and you're completely immersed in it. And then you realize at some point that you've become completely absorbed in this story, and you turn the flashlight beam of your attention back to this little bit of the breathing that wasn't able to hold your attention in the first place. And you do this over and over again during the practice, and maybe spend much more time absorbed in the thinking than in the body, because it's compelling. So if our attention is not so much like a flashlight, but it's like a lamp or a candle, which is shining light, it's illuminating in every direction. If you're allowing the eyes to be soft, that's how you're seeing. You're no longer directing this narrow beam. You're just opening up, and it's as if your awareness is taking in your awareness is taking in everything. It's almost as if your awareness is a kind of a light, a lamp shining in every direction, illuminating everything. And then when you bring that quality of openness into the body, now you're aware of everything. Yeah. So what am I aware of when I'm doing the mindfulness of breathing? If I draw it with a hand, it's this. In fact, it's more than that, because I'm hearing raindrops pattering outside, or it's not raindrop, melting ice, melting snow, dropping outside. So my awareness extends way beyond my body. Now you've got something rich and complex to be aware of. You've got movements going in every different direction at the same time. You've got waves of movement and sensation moving through the entire body. And I didn't really draw much attention to this, but all of that is connected. You can start at one point of your breathing, like your diaphragm, and notice how that's pushing down, how that there's a causal wave of sensation, everything moving in coordination with everything else. And you can notice things like thoughts that are arising and how they affect you in terms of feelings. And you can be aware of how your feelings, how your moods are conditioning your thoughts. So you start becoming aware of connections between things, and it becomes much richer. And I'm going to come on to this later, but this is really important in self-compassion, because we spend so much time absorbed in our stories. So, for example, somebody says something and our feelings are hurt, and then we jump into this whole story about the nature of that relationship, the nature of us, how they don't care for us. That probably means that we're not really very worthy in the first place. We get totally absorbed in those stories. So we don't actually notice a very fundamental thing, which is, right now, I am suffering. Right now, I need my own kindness, and support. So unless we're able to step outside of our stories and have an awareness that is bigger than the stories that we tell ourselves, we're not able to practice self-compassion. So this form of mindfulness, this very open, expansive way of experiencing ourselves, and particularly the soft eyes that trigger that is really the key of everything we're going to be exploring over this weekend. So I'm going to encourage you to allow the eyes to be soft as much as possible. And it's almost always possible. Occasionally, if you're reading or something like that, you have to narrow your attention down. But sitting here right now, when you're walking around, when you're driving, when you're washing the dishes, when you're having a conversation with somebody, you can have your eyes soft and open at all of those times. And you'll find you notice much more. And you'll find that your mind becomes much calmer and that you're more at peace with yourself. So just keep coming back to that. This is a little mantra I have: soft eyes, soft eyes. I come back to that over and over again during meditation just to remind myself.